We are in the midst of an historic Operation Rising Lion, in one of the most complex and ambitious missions the IDF has carried out. Let me be clear. The Iranian regime is responsible for the war that has raged for over 600 days. From Gaza to Lebanon, from Yemen to Tehran, the Iranian regime has spent years fueling terror across the region. And now, the cost of their aggression is being felt on their own soil. Last night, the US military struck nuclear sites in Iran. These actions mark a crucial step stopping the Iranian regime's aggression and its ability to pose a threat to the region and the world. The regime's ability to threaten Israel is being dismantled piece by piece. Even while operating 1,500 kilometers away in Iran, the IDF is operating day and night on multiple fronts to achieve all objectives of the war. Last night, in a joint operation by the IDF and ISA, the bodies of 3 Israeli hostages were recovered from the Gaza Strip. Ofra Keidar, Yonatan Samerano, and Staff Sergeant Shai Levinson, all 3 were brutally murdered and abducted by the Hamas terrorist organization. Ofra Keidar was 71 years old, a mother of 3, from Kibbutz Be'eri. She was married to Shmuel Keidar. Both were murdered brutally in their kibbutz. Yonatan Samerano was 21 years old. He was celebrating life at the Nova Music Festival when Hamas opened fire on him. He was then dragged into Gaza by Hamas terrorists. Even more disturbing, one of the terrorists was an UNRWA worker.
I'm done. Okay. Okay, sure. Okay.
Iran is reacting.
It's like every time Israel has to make a statement, they're like, remember, Holocaust, October 7, UNRWA is bad, Hamas, Iran is Hamas. Remember. Dog, you have done an October 7 since Israel did an October 7 in Iran and then some. Okay? Since Israel started striking Iran, Israel has also continued its ethnic cleansing campaign in fucking Gaza. What the fuck are you talking about? UNRWA workers.
Strongly to the American attacks on its nuclear facilities, warning of consequences. Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi spoke in Istanbul on Sunday.
The Islamic Republic of Iran condemns in the strongest
Sirens in Tehran or sirens in Tel Aviv?
terms the United States' brutal military aggression against Iran's peaceful nuclear facilities. It is an outrageous, grave, and unprecedented violation of the fundamental principles of the Charter of the United Nations and international law. The warmongering and lawless administration in Washington is solely and fully responsible for the dangerous consequences and far-reaching implications of its act of aggression. The Islamic Republic of Iran calls on the Security Council to convene an emergency session to unequivocally condemn the criminal act of aggression by the United States against Iran and to hold the administration in Washington accountable for its violations of fundamental principles of United Nations Charter and of norms of international law. In accordance with the UN Charter and its provisions allowing a legitimate response in self-defense, Iran reserves all options to defend its security interests and people. Well, I think it is irrelevant to ask Iran to return to diplomacy because we were in the middle of diplomacy. We were in the middle of talks with the United States when Israelis blew it up. And again, we were in the middle of talks and negotiation with Europeans, happened only 2 days ago in Geneva, when this time Americans decided to blow it up. So we were in diplomacy, but we were attacked. I will have serious consultations with the Russian president tomorrow, and we continue to work with each other. Russia is also a permanent member of the Security Council, and we know that they were trying, together with China, to introduce a resolution to the Security Council for the cessation of hostilities. There is no red line that they have not crossed. And the last one, and the most dangerous one, happened only last night, when they crossed a very big red line by attacking nuclear facilities.
برای که امتیاز بیشتری بگیره. هدفش امتیاز. وقتی داریم مذاکره میکنی میخواد زورشو برسونه. میگه آقا من میتونم از شما
While we're engaged in negotiations, they want to extract more concessions. We can demand anything from you, and you'll be forced to come to the negotiation table.
و شما مجبورید که بشینید پای میز مذاکره. ولی این نباید باشه. ما مذاکره میکنیم ولی مذاکره در چارچوب قواعد.
Yes, but within the framework of laws and principles, not under the shadow of force. These are the people that Americans stupidly think are just like illiterate, by the way. Americans would be like, oh, Iranians, like they don't have any education in their country. They're desert people. They're backwards desert people. That kind of propaganda is so easy to fucking dispel, though, because all you need to do is like show Tehran, have the fucking average Iranian person talk uninterrupted for 5 minutes. Whether it be state officials or whether it be just a regular ass citizen. Ironically enough, only a country that is kept stupid and illiterate would believe such fucking blatant lies. Iran is the most fucking nerd country out there.
Protests
One of the biggest nerd countries of all time. They're all stem cells over there, dude.
have taken place
A lot of their women too, specifically.
in Tehran, despite mass evacuations there. The BBC isn't allowed to broadcast from inside.
Well, who the fuck said they are illiterate? The women of The View, actually. And also, the average American unironically thinks every country in this region is all like riding camels, living in fucking huts, and are like the most uneducated, illiterate population. Ironically enough, not that they live in huts or whatever, but if you look at like the West Bank, it's actually the Israeli settlers that live in trailer parks and unironically don't know how to fucking read. What they think it resembles Iran is closer to the ultra-nationalist rabid settler base of support that is the only growing demographic in Israel. Yeah, the women can't even leave the house, shit like that. I don't know if this person is saying that unironically, but I hope they're not. This doesn't mean that the regime is not oppressive and doesn't do like crazy shit from time to time. They certainly do. I know much has been made about the fucking, oh, Iranian women can't dance. Like I laughed at that notion. They did prosecute some people. It was ridiculous. No, that's a quote from The View. Yeah. But to say that like Iranian society broadly is like uneducated or the women of Iran are not allowed to fucking dance is insane. It's like saying they literally force every woman in the United States of America to become a fucking baby incubator because of what they did in Georgia.
Iran, but we have this report from Siarvash Ardalan of the BBC Persian service in London.
In the center of the crowd, Iran's president, surrounded by hundreds of party faithful, venting their fury at the United States. What America did is truly unforgivable, says this woman. Iran is stronger than they perceive. But after last night's US attacks, the regime here is seriously weakened. So what comes next? The Iranian Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei could swallow his pride and possibly save his regime and the country from further damage. Or he could fight on and risk everything. Domestic public opinion is now divided and confused.
The response must be firm and decisive. What's at stake here is the very identity of being Iranian.
In my opinion, Iran needs to engage in some reflection and contemplation.
As for the country's Revolutionary Guard, it responded by saying U.S. military bases in the region are vulnerable.
Dude, BBC, CNN, and the New York Times, I think, play a more dangerous role in manufacturing consent than even Fox News and like GBN or whatever the right-wing version, the Fox News equivalent is. Like, because your expectation for Fox News is like uninterrupted propaganda. But your expectation from legacy publishers such as the BBC, like the most important state broadcaster, perhaps, in the entirety of the Western world, or the gray lady, the paper of record for the United States of America, the New York Times, is that they are supposed to be giving you the unvarnished, unbiased truth. So when those outlets are using that tremendous responsibility to do uninterrupted state propaganda, I feel like that does a lot more damage to otherwise intelligent people and causes them to develop the wrong opinions because they're basing it off of the wrong assessment. It's kind of shocking how much they do this shit. Yeah, Anthony Zurcher is a BBC News employee. This is beyond disgusting, and they want us to believe that they are impartial. Somewhere in heaven, posts Eli Lake talking about John McCain, who always fantasized about bombing Iran. Anthony Zurcher, BBC employee, goes bomb, bomb, bomb Iran. Famously, that was what John McCain actually sung. In any case, this is why you come here to the Piker Broadcasting Service for the actual biased, but at least honestly biased, unvarnished truth. The difference between me and all these other places is that I will tell you exactly where my biases are. I think everyone is biased, and I think it's important for people to recognize what their perspective truly is instead of making it seem as though they are approaching the subject matter from this objective analysis. You can still make objective analysis. I often do. There are plenty of things that I don't agree with that other countries do, even countries that I actually am more sympathetic to than others. And I will still tell you exactly what they're doing when they're doing something wrong. The Piker Broadcasting Service is sponsored by you, the viewers, for $6 a month in the form of a Twitch subscription or a free one in the form of a Twitch Prime. Twitch Prime is free as long as you connect your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account. The Piker Broadcasting Service is sponsored by you and is always for you, the viewers. Thank you. Hassan, do you know anyone in Turkey that can help get a train ticket from Tehran to Van or anywhere? My dad is stuck and can't get back out to England. I do not. I'm sorry. Yeah, here's John McCain singing.
It's well documented that we have, for quite a long time now, known where the real problem is in the Middle East. And in fact, the president adequately described it as the axis of evil. I guess my question is, how many times do we have to prove that these people are blowing up people now? Never mind if they get a nuclear weapon. When do we send them an airmail message to Tehran? That old Beach Boys song, Bomb Iran? Bomb, bomb, bomb. Hey, man.
But they know retaliation would invite further U.S. attacks. This is a state TV reporter who went to Fordo. I can't see much damage, he says. For now, it's America's word against Iran's. Weakened and humiliated, the Iranian regime will struggle to maintain its credibility and grip on power in the face of widespread discontent.
Yeah, weak and humiliated, the Iranian regime will have a hard time keeping its grip on power is perhaps not the best assessment here, especially considering that Israel has killed more than 600 Iranians. Okay? So, if anything, the weakest moment for the Islamic Republic is when there is real popular uprising due to real social struggles that they experience due to the repressive forces within the Iranian government that see any sort of civil liberties as simply Western NGO-backed foreign intervention and try to stamp it out through force by killing opposition members, by jailing people, by torturing them. That is unironically the weakest point for Iran, the Iranian regime, the Iranian government. Okay? This is not one of those moments. And the reason why this is not one of those moments is because why? Why is it that their weakest moment is when there's popular struggle happening in the country? It's because they're killing people, right? It's because they're jailing people, they're killing people. So when a foreign power, especially a Western-backed foreign power, comes in and blows up the fucking country and kills a shit ton of poets, artists, artisans, bakers, things of that nature, I think that is a opportunity for the fucking Islamic Republic to say, no, we are a sovereign state and we will protect you unconditionally from Western intervention. The Mahsa Amini protests were probably the weakest they've been in some time, but it's still not the point of overthrow. But yeah, no, it's still not at the point of overthrow. Exactly. You mean USAID was more effective in upheaval? If you think that the entire resentment against the Islamic Republic is simply backed by, or not backed by, but simply propped up by U.S. aid or completely cultivated by U.S. aid and foreign propaganda, you're delusional. There is real resentment. The American government does not have the power of hypnosis, okay? The CIA can only take advantage of the national security weaknesses born in a lot of these countries, the real popular resentment that exists in a lot of these countries. They can egg it on, they can offer it support, they can take advantage of that destabilization, but they can't just single-handedly cultivate it, especially not anymore. Okay? In the age of the internet, it is infinitely harder to do this. A lot of people, I think, overestimate the power that the CIA has. So while I will not discount the idea that like Mahsa Amini protests were certainly also propped up or taken advantage of by Western interests in Israeli intervention, American intervention, there is certainly truth to that. It's the same with the Hong Kong protests. Okay? Hong Kong protests were real. Of course, people did not want to exist under the Chinese, the Communist Party of China and their repressive policies. They were scared of this. Okay? There was very real reason for a lot of people to feel resentful. There was a very real reason for a lot of people to feel frustrated and scared. Does that mean that the CIA did not do everything in its power to beef up the protests? Of course they did. This is how it's been all around the world, okay? If you don't believe that the popular discontent that exists against the Democratic administration is propped up by China and Russia, or the popular discontent and mobilization that exists in this country against Donald Trump right now that is propped up by Iran or Russia or China, then you should be able to understand why people can feel resentful towards other sovereign powers, okay? And their own personal involvement and relationship with the state. Don't be stupid. This is like applauding a grown man for being able to wipe their behind, not exactly a vote of confidence. Great take from AOC. Banger. This reminds me of when the conservative media lifted up Ahmed Shalabi to run Iraq after the U.S. invasion. Then he won only 0.5% of the vote in the election and was very likely an agent of ... Iran. Today, His Royal Highness Reza Pahlavi, exiled crown prince of Iran, joins me on the latest developments of the Israel-Iran conflict. Yeah, this guy does not have motion, okay? Sure, I'm certain there's fucking some royalists, okay? But he'd have an easier time becoming the fucking mayor of Los Angeles, okay, than the leader of Iran. Oh no. God forbid that motherfucker actually wants real political power. He could win the mayoral position of this great city in a heartbeat, okay? This is where his base is. Not over there. Anyway, the Israeli military says it launched a wave of airstrikes deep into Iran early Sunday, using over 20 warplanes and more than 30 munitions in an intelligence-based operation. For the record, it didn't take much. Remember when yesterday someone tried to tell me that Israel was going to halt their strikes, and I told you they're not. That means that they're going to definitely continue striking Iran. Well, here it is. A surface-to-air missile launcher near Tehran was also targeted, according to Israel. The Israeli military said the goal is to achieve aerial superiority over Iranian airspace and degrade Iran's military capabilities. Okay, but I thought that they already had achieved aerial superiority over Iranian airspace. What is happening? I thought they had complete aerial dominance. Huh.
Siadashar Dalon, BBC News.
We can speak now to Bahman Kalabasi.
Pahlavi is our only option and we will support it. Who's we, motherfucker? You ain't speaking Farsi. Are you speaking French when you say we? Who's we? I am Persian, not Iranian. We want Pahlavi. We want him. We love Israel. We love Israel. It is okay. Please bomb Tehran, Israel. I want to wear bikini to the beach. I want to wear bikini to the beach, Israel. I'm Israel high.
Correspondent for BBC Persian who's joining us. Bahman, very good to see you. We don't have a great picture of the general mood right now inside Iran, but what can you tell us? We mentioned there were some protests in Tehran, but also, as we saw in that report, support for the government in the face of what they see as U.S. aggression.
There's definite mass discontent with this regime, and the immediate need that talking to people is very obvious is for this strike and counter-strike cycles to end. The Israelis stop attacking Iran and Iran stop retaliating. That is the first thing that...
How did you know I am from Iran?
Much of the public is hoping would happen as soon as possible. There has been many civilian casualties, the infrastructure is being hit, and the lives of millions of people have been disrupted. It's one thing to hear, bombers and drones on TV, but it's another thing to live under them day in and day out and hear those voices and be worried that your area, your neighborhood could be next. So that is the reality in the short term, but in the medium term and the long term, I think a lot of Iranians would want this to end permanently, which means they do not want the government to retaliate at all. Of course, there are hardliners who support the regime, and there is some rallying around the flag effect of this.
Yeah, there's some hardliners that support the regime. That's it. Otherwise, maybe a little bit of rallying around the flag, just a little bit. Not most people are saying most people are screaming, "Please, Israel, keep bombing us. Keep bombing us more, please."
As well, but the majority remains hopeful that the regime calculates that this will be too costly if they attack American interests in the region.
Right.
So that is where the population stands on a large scale, and that is hoping that the war would end and that there is no further escalation by the regime. But that still takes us where it was before these attacks started, which was...
No, most people are hopeful that the Iranian government, regardless of its repressive forces, will protect the Iranian citizens. Okay? That's what anyone wants. It doesn't matter what their fucking political perspective is. The moment that there is an external force that is, especially a Western force, that is destabilizing the country, bombing the country, that's a moment where virtually every fucking, every aspect of civilized society is going to go, please save us, please defend us, please protect us. That's it. That's the entire purpose of a government to begin with. And the moment that the government is seen as incapable of fucking defending the citizens is the moment where the government will be destabilized, which is precisely the point of America and Israel right now. Through a war of attrition, they are trying to manage this conflict in a way where they can hopefully make the Islamic Republic look weaker so that there is popular mobilization against the government from the population that'll go, okay, what the fuck are you doing? You're not protecting us. No one, on the other hand, is demanding that the government fucking, the government just cast them aside and let Israel and America run the show. I mean, there are some people, but again, there are insane people everywhere. You know what I mean?
Heavily sanctioned economy in the worst shape it's been since maybe the beginning of this regime. And
like, I'll give you a good example from one that Westerners understand because they were fucking primed and focused and lasered in on, okay? Ukraine. The further east you go in Ukraine in the past, the more Russian sympathies existed. This is not Russian propaganda. I'm just judging this off of Western polls that were always conducted in these areas, okay? People who consider themselves to be ethnic Russians, people that had more family members in Russia, and vice versa, okay? The further east you went in Ukraine, the more sympathies for Russia existed. All of that is gone after Russia invaded Ukraine and blew up half of fucking eastern Ukraine. It's that simple. The people that would have despised their own government, the people that would have, the Ukrainian population that fought against ultra-nationalist paramilitary forces like Azov Battalion, which was formed initially from neo-Nazi football hooligans, the anti-Nazis, the people who fought against those Nazis, the Ukrainians that fought against those Nazis, now found themselves side by side fighting alongside the Nazis against a much more damaging force, a foreign power that was engaging in irredentist action. Sure, gone, especially in Crimea, lol. No, Crimea is different, and the reason why Crimea is different is because of how Russia took Crimea. Crimea is virtually paperwork in comparison to what has taken place in fucking eastern Ukraine. Look at eastern Ukraine versus look at how Russia annexed Crimea, okay? Was it still inappropriate? Absolutely, okay? Was it still violating the sovereignty of Ukraine? Certainly. But you can't make this comparison between Crimea and eastern Ukraine when look at the fucking conflict in eastern Ukraine. Look at the conflict in Ukraine in general versus look at what happened in Crimea. They didn't fucking bomb the shit out of Crimea. Your takes are terrible. You don't even care about the poor Israelis who are forced to commit genocides. I know, it's really fucked up how Israel's hand was forced.
There's no light at the end of the tunnel without some sort of a negotiated settlement that opens up.
There's a Russophile author couple from Ukraine that wrote about the Turkish Caliphate that would capture Crimea and kickstart the process. Their house got bombed during the invasion and they quit the internet and all their family speaks Ukrainian now. Yeah, no shit. Of course. Like, Crimea was already Russified under the USSR to begin with, so it's a little bit different. But then again, it doesn't even matter because if Russia had done the same shit that they did in eastern Ukraine to Crimea, I'm certain that the Crimean population would also develop specific and tremendous resentment towards Russian annexation as well. The Russification of Crimea took place before Ukraine became an independent nation state.
Iran's economy that lifts the sanctions, and
Right.
that feels far away right now.
So what options do you think does that leave for the Iranian regime? And, can we learn anything from how it responded to the assassination of Qasem Soleimani during Donald Trump's first term?
Not many good options. Okay. If they are one to finally make a U-turn and accept that their policies have brought Iran to this point, even though they find it unfair and that even though they actually are worried about the consequences, the reality is they don't actually have very good options. If they decide to come out and say that we want to negotiate, then they have given up all that they have invested in billions of dollars. And
yeah, it's simply that. It's just we're the opportunity cost. We've